In tennis, fans see the trophies, the rivalries, and the glamorous courts. But behind the scenes, there is a world of contracts, sponsorships, corporate battles, and massive money moves that shape careers more than people realize. And no story captures that better than the now infamous saga of Coco Gauff, Nike, New Balance, and Aryna Sabalenka. This is not just a branding story. It's not just a contract story. It's a story of misjudgment, disrespect, ambition, and a corporate mistake so big that Nike still feels the consequences years later. So sit back, because today, we're breaking down the full, unfiltered journey of how a global sports giant lost the most influential young star in tennis, and how another brand turned her into their entire identity. Let's get into it. Before Coco Gauff was a Grand Slam champion, before she became one of the most influential athletes of her generation, she was just a talented kid with a dream. A kid who wore Nike. A kid who trained, traveled, and competed in Nike Junior outfits. To her, Nike wasn't just a brand, it was the brand. The one she imagined walking onto Arthur Ashe wearing. The one she imagined lifting trophies in. The one every kid on the court wanted to wear. For most junior players, the path is obvious. If you shine, Nike signs you. If you show promise, Nike finds you. If you're the future, Nike invests early. So naturally, everyone expected the same for Coco Gauff. She had the results, the charisma, the potential, the story. But then something unusual happened. When Coco approached her transition to the pro level, the exact moment when brands normally race to lock down a rising star, Nike didn't step forward. They didn't push. They didn't prioritize her. They didn't see the long-term vision. Inside Nike, Coco was viewed as a developing talent, not a future face of the sport. And just like that, the door opened for someone else. While Nike hesitated, another company was watching closely. New Balance. At the time, New Balance's presence in tennis was small, almost invisible compared to giants like Nike and Adidas. The brand was known more for lifestyle shoes and running, not for dominating tennis endorsements. But behind the scenes, they had a plan. They weren't looking for just any athlete. They were looking for the right one. Someone to build around, whose personality, humility, and talent aligned with their long-term vision. In Coco Gauff, they saw everything Nike didn't. A charismatic young champion in the making, a player with global appeal, a strong, grounded family, a mentality built for longevity, and a potential brand identity, not just a contract number. New Balance didn't approach Coco with a typical offer. They approached her with a commitment, something bold and unusual for a teenager. They didn't say, "We want you." They said, "We want to build with you." They understood the long-term game. Nike saw a junior player. New Balance saw a generational star. And that difference changed everything. When Coco Gauff signed with New Balance back in 2018, it didn't make breaking news. There were no trending hashtags, no flashy press releases, and no dramatic photo shoots. The tennis world barely blinked. To many, she was just another promising junior player, talented, yes, but still unproven on the global stage. But inside New Balance headquarters, the signing was treated like a franchise acquisition. This wasn't just a contract, it was a long-term strategic investment. New Balance didn't want Coco to be another athlete in the lineup. They wanted her to be the face of their entire tennis vision, a vision they had been quietly building for years. From the very beginning, they gave her something most brands reserve only for established superstars: creative input on her outfits, influence over branding direction, a multi-year roadmap built around her growth, and direct involvement in shoe and apparel design. These are things Nike, with its massive roster and strict brand hierarchy, rarely offers even to top-seeded professionals, let alone a teenager. Then came the moment that truly changed everything. Coco Gauff became one of the youngest tennis players in modern history to receive her own full signature shoe. Not a junior release, not a limited edition colorway, not a co-branded collaboration. A complete, fully engineered signature model, the New Balance CG1. In the world of tennis, signature shoes are extremely rare. Only a small handful of players, icons like Roger Federer or Rafael Nadal, ever earn that honor. For a teenager to receive one? Practically unheard of. Nike could have had that story, could have built that legacy. But instead, they stood on the sidelines while New Balance transformed Coco into a global marketing force. And with every new season, it became undeniable. New Balance didn't just sign Coco Gauff. They invested in who she was and who she would become. By the 2020, 2021, and 2022 seasons, something uncomfortable was growing inside Nike's headquarters. Regret. Not quiet, subtle regret. A loud, undeniable realization that they had let a generational star walk straight out of their system. Coco Gauff wasn't just improving. She was erupting into one of the biggest forces in women's tennis. Grand Slam finals, deep runs at every major, record-breaking viewership, a fan base that spanned continents, and a calm, confident maturity that made brands fight just to be in the same room with her. While Coco soared, New Balance capitalized. Every season brought new signature pieces, new campaigns, and global attention. Coco wasn't just an athlete for them, she was the engine powering their rise in tennis. Meanwhile, Nike found themselves doing something unfamiliar, chasing hype they once had in their hands. Imagine sitting in a Nike boardroom watching your former junior athlete become the biggest young star in the world, your rival brand building its entire identity around her, and fans everywhere mocking Nike for letting her slip away. This wasn't a small oversight. It was a historic blunder, and all you had to do was match the offer mistake. So where does Aryna Sabalenka fit into this story? Well, this is where it gets truly interesting. As Coco Gauff's star continued to rise under New Balance, Nike suddenly found itself in a scramble, searching for a new flagship woman in tennis. They still had names with enormous recognition and influence: Serena Williams, Naomi Osaka, Bianca Andreescu, and Paula Badosa. But each of these athletes came with clear limitations. Serena was transitioning toward retirement, Naomi was taking extended breaks from competition, Bianca had an ongoing struggle with injuries, and Paula, while talented, often struggled with consistency on the court. It became increasingly evident that Nike needed a fresh face, someone who could carry the brand into the future, someone with star power, and someone who could fill the void left by Coco Gauff, the star they had let slip through their fingers. That's when Aryna Sabalenka entered the conversation. Sabalenka, from the moment she burst onto the scene, checked nearly every box a marketing team could dream of. She was powerful, dominating matches with her aggressive baseline game. She was charismatic, able to command attention both on and off the court. She was photogenic, the kind of athlete who looked perfect in ad campaigns, on posters, and in social media imagery. Her intensity and passion made her impossible to ignore, and her competitive fire created a dynamic presence that drew fans to every match she played. But Sabalenka also came with one critical factor that brands cannot control: polarization. Her attitude, raw emotional displays, on-court outbursts, fiery personality, and heated rivalries made her a natural magnet for attention, but not always the type of attention a brand like Nike would prefer. Every time Nike launched a major Sabalenka campaign, social media erupted with reminders of what had been lost. Comment sections flooded with posts like, "Should have kept Coco," "Sabalenka is good, but she's not Coco," "Nike fumbled the bag," "New Balance got the real star," and "Coco's signature shoes are better than anything Nike has now." Fans weren't comparing the tennis achievements of the two players. Instead, they were comparing brand narratives. Coco represented humility, consistency, growth, and authenticity, an athlete who evolved naturally and carried herself with poise under pressure. Sabalenka, on the other hand, represented volatility, power, unpredictability, and emotional extremes. Coco had a signature shoe, a line that carried her name and her identity. Sabalenka wore standard Nike models, which, while high quality, lacked the personal branding that would make her feel like the face of the sport. In short, Coco was the star Nike let slip away. Sabalenka was the star Nike was left with. And the comparison never stopped. Meanwhile, New Balance didn't sit back and wait for the world to notice. They doubled down on Coco. They didn't treat her as just another athlete on a roster. They invested in her long-term growth, expanding her influence and building global marketing strategies around the qualities that made her stand out: her maturity, leadership, activism, grounded personality and her ability to authentically connect with fans around the world. When Coco won her first Grand Slam, New Balance didn't just congratulate her. They turned it into a worldwide event. Billboards featuring Coco appeared in cities around the globe. Her signature shoe line expanded with new designs and colorways. Limited edition releases sold out instantly. Campaigns with bold, resonant titles such as Coco's Time, Coco's Court, and Future Built by Coco launched everywhere, making it clear that New Balance wasn't merely endorsing an athlete, they were building a global icon. The rivalry between New Balance and Nike quickly became bigger than sportswear. It transformed into a cultural showdown, a lesson in how respecting an athlete early and granting them creative input can elevate both the player and the brand to unprecedented heights. Inside Nike, the mood shifted dramatically. They realized that they had completely misread Coco Gauff. Their mistake wasn't financial. Nike could have easily afforded her contract. It wasn't about timing, they were well aware of her achievements and her rising profile. The mistake was a failure of judgment. Nike failed to value her personality, her leadership potential, her marketability, and her capacity for future growth. And now, the irony was clear. Nike was chasing the next Coco Gauff, while New Balance already had the original. Nike attempted to fill the gap. They leaned on players like Sabalenka, pushed aggressive marketing campaigns, and explored new sponsorships in search of a new face for women's tennis. But the truth remained simple and unshakable. You cannot replace a generational star you didn't believe in at the right moment. Sabalenka is a phenomenal player, make no mistake. She brings power, charisma, and undeniable skill to the sport. But from a branding perspective, she isn't Coco. Her relationship with fans is more complicated. Her on-court controversies follow her. Her personality divides opinion. And her sponsorship value fluctuates based on public perception. Inadvertently, Sabalenka became a living reminder of Nike's mistake. Every photo shoot, every on-court meltdown, every advertising campaign became an opportunity for comparison to Coco Gauff, and Nike could not escape it. Fast forward to today, and the power shift in tennis branding is unmistakable. Coco Gauff has evolved into a Grand Slam champion, a global cultural force, a sports activist, and a role model for millions of young athletes around the world. She stands as the most influential young star in women's tennis and is undeniably the face of New Balance's tennis empire. Meanwhile, Nike continues to scramble. Sabalenka remains one of their central figures, powerful, marketable, and compelling, yet polarizing. Nike's WTA lineup feels incomplete without Coco, a constant reminder of the generational opportunity they allowed to slip through their fingers. In contrast, New Balance didn't merely acquire a talented athlete, they gained an entire era. Nike didn't just lose a contract, they lost a legacy, a story, and a cautionary symbol of what happens when a brand fails to recognize true greatness before the rest of the world does. Coco Gauff's journey offers a clear lesson for every corporation. Invest not only in who an athlete is today, but in who they have the potential to become tomorrow. Nike evaluated Coco through the lens of her current performance, seeing only a talented kid with promise. New Balance looked at her future and recognized a generational phenomenon in the making. Where Nike hesitated, New Balance believed. Where Nike saw risk, New Balance saw opportunity. In the end, the outcome was simple and undeniable. Nike lost a generational star, while New Balance gained one of the most transformative athletes of her generation. It is a textbook example of how vision, combined with the courage to act on it, can change the entire trajectory of both an athlete and a brand. And that is the full, unfiltered story of how Coco Gauff left Nike, why New Balance changed her career, and how Sabalenka became part of the conversation without even trying. Let me know in the comments. Do you think Nike regrets losing Coco Gauff? Did New Balance make the smartest move in tennis sponsorship history? And who do you think is the bigger global star, Gauff or Sabalenka? Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more tennis breakdowns, controversies, and behind-the-scenes stories.